Well, we can build ourselves a simple spell checker. So this week's download, as I said, it contains 3 text files, and the other one, the one that isn't lorem ipsum, is a dictionary which has a list of 44,000 lowercase words. So if I go to here, and there they are, and there's 44,000 of them. And the way this spell checker works, it just asks the user for a word, and then it checks the word against that dictionary. And if the word is in the list in the dictionary, then we assume it's spelled correctly. And if it's not in the list, we assume it's a misspelling. And if the user enters nothing, the loop terminates. Okay, so here's the code to do that. There's only a few lines of code. So what do? We read in the dictionary and split it into words, and that gives us this list of valid words here. Then we print the word spell checking, and then this loop runs while true. So that loop will, in principle, run forever. It runs while this condition is true, and true is always true. And the way it works is that it asks the user for a word using the input function. If they return nothing, so if they just hit the return key, so the word is empty, then it breaks out of the loop, and then the program finishes. So it prints spell checking finish, and the program finishes. But then we take the word that they've given us, and we turn it into lowercase because we want to check it against the valid words, which are all in lowercase. If it's in that list of valid words, then we say it looks okay, and if it's not, then we say it's not in this dictionary. Okay, I can run that. Let's just run that one. So if I put in computer, should be in the list. If I put in computer, also in the list, even though it's uppercase, it gets converted to lowercase when the program checks it against the list. If I put in just a random string, it won't be in the dictionary. And when I hit return with nothing there, it'll finish the program. Okay, so that's a basic spell checker. There's another example of it running. And the one problem, and then we have to think about this when we're dealing with files, actually, is all the time, is what happens if the user's deleted or renamed the dictionary.txt file. Okay, I can demonstrate that. Let's show you. Suppose I go to the folder and I rename it. Just call it dictionary1. Okay, when I try and run this program again, I get this error. Okay, it can't find the file because obviously it's no longer there. And that it gives that rather nasty error that isn't very user-friendly. Okay, I mean, as programmers, we might start to understand what those things mean, but as a user, we don't want to give that kind of error message. So, although our read function is dealing with the problem that the resources are then released, you still get this rather unhelpful traceback, and this is known as an exception. It's an exception. You can sometimes see it called an exception. Here it's called file not found error. And what we have to do with it, with exception handling, the idea is to make sure that when this kind of thing happens, we give the user a warning. So exceptions can arise in all kinds of situations. So when a file is not accessible, a web page is not available, when your device runs out of memory, can quite often happen if you're trying to run a big program. All kinds of things can go wrong, and we just have to handle them gracefully. So Python and most other languages have a way of handling these kind of problems. And basically what we do is take the code that we're trying to run and wrap it between what's called a try and accept statement. So let me show you that. So if something goes wrong, the execution jumps to the accept statement. So we put the code that we want to run after the try statement. If something goes wrong, the program will automatically jump to the accept statement, and then we can give the user a helpful error message rather than that traceback. And there's a page about that on W3 Schools about try and accept. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So here's our spell checker with a try and accept block in it. Okay, so you can see this part of the code here, these lines here, are exactly the same as before. They're just indented because they're part of the try block. the accept block, the accept block deals with OS errors. So if there's an error from the operating system, the accept block will catch it, and then it will print. In this case, it will print the error out, and then it will print stopping, unable to read dictionary file. So we can put whatever message we want there. Here, we don't have to print the error out. We can just print stopping. You know, whatever you feel like is a useful message to the user. Let me demonstrate that. So is that file still renamed? Yes. Oh, did I call it dictionary again? Okay, so let's call it dictionary 1. And let's go to that program. Okay. PyCharm is trying to be helpful by renaming the dictionary to dictionary 1. So let's run that program now. That file no longer exists. If I go to the folder, or actually if I can just see it there, it's now called dictionary 1. If I run that, that didn't work. Control Shift F10. Let's run it. You can see now the message that gets printed out is no such file or directory dictionary.txt, and then our own message stopping, unable to read dictionary file. Okay, so you could put whatever you want there. You don't have to include this line, the error number 2 line, and you don't have to include that. Whatever you feel is useful for the user to know what's going wrong. Okay, and obviously the program can't fix it. I mean, we could write a program that would then look for something called dictionary or something called dictionary 1, but that's a bit, it's not necessarily the case that we can necessarily find this file, because the user might have just deleted it because they think it's not useful. So when we run that, you can, as I say, you can put whatever you like in the accept block. So here we printed out the error message. You could prompt the user for another file name. That would be another useful thing to do. Maybe they've renamed it. You could do nothing and end the program silently. Not such a friendly thing to do, as it user friendly. But in general, the principle is you try and keep the user informed and the program running, if that's at all possible. Okay. You don't need to know how to use these for the exam. But you should be aware of this concept. So what does try and accept do? It's used to check something is going to work, and if it doesn't work, then we can give the user a helpful message. Okay, let's end that video there, and then we'll go on to the next topic.